Welcome back to Advanced Pino series. I'm Victor Gamov with StarTree, and today we're diving into obviously core aspect of any database, configuring tables. I'm going to show you how you can create schema for table, how the table will be created inside the Pino, what kind of types of tables available in Pino. Those components are backbone of your data architecture. So let's get right in. Apache Pinot supports three types of table configuration: offline, real-time, and hybrid. Offline tables ingest static data from external sources, including files, file system, and any historically batch-oriented data stores. Real-time tables ingest data for streams like Apache Kafka or Amazon Kinesis and build the segments by consuming data from streaming source. And also, there are hybrid tables that have both real-time and offline aspects. By default, all tables in Pino are hybrid. In Pino, tables are logical. Data is actually stored in the segments. A segment is a horizontal chart representing a chunk of a table data. Queries can also run against specific segments, and segments can be reloaded or backfilled. Apache Pinot supports a concept called deep store, and segments stored in deep stores and used to backup or restore some data, or as well for replication. In some use cases, people like to use deep store to move data. When the new servers are starting up, they can access segments from the deep store. In case of real-time tables, data is written to segment during the phase where we're consuming data. Each segment will include a component of consumer that will be reading data from external source. In case of batch injections, and we're going to talk about different types of ingestion in the next modules, but when we're talking about the batch ingestions, data is written directly to deep store when it's configured. You can configure schema for tables using our own Florent Pino admin command. There's a add table subcommand. There's an API available. You can invoke this through the REST, or you can configure those schemas and tables in Pino UI. In order to configure table, first of all, you need to provide a schema config that will be defined a name, dimensions fields, metrics, and the fields that will be corresponding for date and time formats. Different fields, different columns might have different types, including integer, long, float, and some other things. Even JSON and new types are coming with every new release, so make sure to check out the release notes and see if the new types were added. Inside schema config, you can specify that dimensions fields can be used to do filter or group by operations. Metrics fields will be used to aggregate data, and datetime fields typically include one of the primary fields for time series data. Table config will include table name and corresponding schema. Also, in the table config, you configure type of this table, if it's a real-time or it is offline, and additional configurations, including tenants, including indexes, and some other metadata also needs to be included in the table config. Segment config will represent how data will be actually physically stored on the disk. And you can configure a replication, you can configure a retention for those segments, and so far and so on. Typical operations to create our tables will require invoking Pino admin with add table when you specify schema and you specify table config. Now, it's time you try this yourself. Go to exercise folder in a GitHub repository that you hopefully already cloned and follow instructions there. As always, if you hit any roadblocks and find any problems, start from scratch, because we're kind of thinking that in GitHub we have a working example. If you still will be experiencing any problems, don't hesitate to reach out in troubleshooting channel in our community Slack. Now, remember, schemas define the structure of your data. Tables organize your data into offline on real time, and segments store your data effectively on the file system. A deep store will be used for data recovery and backup. And that's it for today. Now, when you know how you can create the structure of the table and how you can store those tables on the file system, it's time to populate these tables with some data. In the next module, we're going to talk about different type of ingestion that's available in Apache Pinot. Until next time, happy clustering.